In this video, I will be showing you how I use the online collaboration tool Miro to facilitate my retrospectives and workshops. So Miro is an awesome whiteboard. It's an online whiteboard that allows remote teams to work together at the same time and really helps you create awesome collaborative environments, even if your team works remotely. Hi, my name is Daria. Welcome. So as I said, in this video, I will be looking into Miro. And if you've been following me for some time, you know I absolutely love Miro. I use it for everything. I use it personally for my own planning, but I also use it more specifically for any workshops or retrospectives. For example, all of my workshop templates and all of the retrospective templates that you can find in my store have a Miro template as well. So this is an awesome tool. I've been using it since the beginning of the pandemic. So in this video, what I want to do is to actually create a retrospective example, really just a board that I can use for an upcoming retrospective with the team, show you what tools I use, what functionalities I use, and also help you kind of walk you through the steps of running a retrospective and which functionality can help you in which situations. So let's jump right in. Okay, so here I am on the Miro website. This is basically where you can create your account if you don't have one. You can create a free account. They have a pretty generous plan, I believe. You can have up to 3 whiteboards, basically. So this is great because the whiteboards are infinite. So you have infinite space there, and you can really use it for many, many different things, just one whiteboard. So I think the free plan can definitely be pretty useful, even if you cannot, get a team plan for now. Let me log in into my account. So here I am on my workshops page. As you can see on the left here, I have lots of different projects. I also have lots of different teams that I am a part of. But here I am in my Scrum Master team. So lots of boards. I use it for workshops, for webinars, for everything really, and for my classes. So let's create a new board because this is what you will be most likely doing. Let's call it something like retrospectives for Team Awesome. This is our brand new board, and this is the pop-up that usually comes up. And there are a few things that I like to use in these. Basically, these are different templates, and you can actually look for different templates. As you can see, I have been looking into some of those for myself. And you can use not just the templates themselves, but some building blocks. This is what I really, really love using myself. So you can scroll down, look at all of those different things, but there are 2 very specific things that I use. First of all, the stickies packs. If you click on use, this is just a set of stickies, and I really like using this because it just helps me quickly create all of those stickies for people, especially if they don't know how to use Miro. This is really kind of a lifesaver. Now, if you want to organize your stickies in a more structured way, so when you select all of the stickies, in the top right corner here, you see this little button. If you click on it and you start dragging, you can actually structure, kind of put all of your stickies in a well-organized order. And this is great. I like using that. So now I can make them smaller, maybe even change the color so that they're all the same color. And this is something that I can use later on. Another template that you can use, and let me actually move my camera. So on the left-hand side here, you have other things that we will be using, but these are the templates. If you click here, you go back to this templates page. And another thing that I use is the dot voting, another building block. So this just gives you these dots, which are also great for using for voting. And they do have these participants' names and color-coded. I never use that. I just kind of have just the dots, and I like to change them all to the same color. And this is kind of my set, the tools that I can easily come back to and use in my retrospective. So here I will be creating just a couple of pages for my retrospective, and it will be very kind of simple. The first thing that I use always is I create a frame. So here on the left-hand side, you can choose frame, and then any size really. Obviously, I'm going to take just the regular one, 16 by 9, and then you can change the color of your frame. And why it's good to have a frame is that when you actually export the board, so if I were to export this board into a PDF, I can actually get every frame as a separate page. So now here, for example, if I were to export it, I would just get a frame with nothing inside. So it would be a PDF file with just one page, a blank page. But if I add anything inside of this frame, now it will export the frame with all of it, everything that is inside of the frame. So that helps me. Sometimes I want to export something very specific. If I want to maybe export for bigger classes when I have 100 slides, it is really easier for me to create a PDF out of it. It is very, very handy. Another thing you can do with a frame is to actually export it as image. This is something that I also absolutely love to use when I'm sometimes maybe creating an image or a graph or something, basically using Miro as kind of like a really whiteboarding tool or a design tool for simple graphs. I can use Miro and then I just export an image and use it in other places. So let's start. This is our frame, and the first thing, let's start with a title. So let's imagine this is our Sprint 1 retrospective, and let's change the font. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. Sprint 1 Retro. So there you go. And for this retrospective, I decided to use the sailboat, which is just a simple retrospective where we look at internal motivators and external motivators, as well as internal resistors and external resistors. So I know that it's going to be 4 quadrants. I can immediately choose the line here and create it. Here the line, and then I can change it a little bit. So let me put it here, and then I'm going to put another one since it is a quadrant. By the way, if you are making a line like this, and you want this line to be well at the 90 degrees. So you can see, you can't really see exactly, but if you hold shift, now the line is exactly at the 90 degrees, as you can see, even if I move it around, and now I no longer hold shift. Now I can change the direction again. So just a quick little thing that you really learn when you work with various tools. So there you go. This is my quadrant, and this is what I'm going to be using. Now, it's a sailboat. Let's make it a little bit more fun. I'm going to click on the icon finder here, and I'm going to find a sailboat image. This is something that I really like to use. And let's use maybe this image. This looks really nice. I'm going to put it right here in the middle. So it's just a metaphor, kind of making my retrospective a little bit more fun, just to give it a bit more interesting tone to it. Now, in the sailboat retrospectives, you have 4 quadrants. You have internal, external, motivators, and resistors. So let's put those in. And the metaphors we use here are related to different parts of a sailboat or how the sailboat operates. So, internal motivators. So we can say internal motivators. What helped us? That we did ourselves, right? So it's internal as a team. And we can make it a bit smaller, just to give us more space. So this is internal motivators. Let me zoom in a little bit. Now let's do internal resistors the same way. And this is what hindered us that we did ourselves. Sometimes we do things ourselves. Sometimes the team does something that is not necessarily helpful for the team, but maybe not necessarily on purpose, but this helps us identify some of those maybe mistakes or failed experiments. Now, on the right side, we're going to have same motivators and resistors, except that now it's external. So external motivators, what helped us that was out of our control. In the same way, we can at the bottom, we'll have external resistors. What hindered us that was out of our control. So we'll look at internal, external. Now, the metaphor. Let's actually make the metaphor here for our sailboat. Let's make it a little bit, let's beautify it just a little bit. There you go. Well, what are the internal motivators? Well, the things that we did ourselves. The example here could be the sail, or maybe the paddles, or the rudder. So I saw here in the sailboat, there is this rudder image. Let's use it right here to say, well, we had control over the rudder and we were able to maybe steer our sailboat in the right direction. Now, internal resistors. Well, a good example of this could be anchor. So we can use the image of an anchor here. There you go. Anchor, an internal resistor. Now let's think about external motivators and external resistors. Well, what could have helped our sailboat? Well, maybe good wind that was going in the right direction. So maybe let's look at wind. Something that helped us. Maybe we can put something, let's put this. Nice little image. So the wind that helped us, it was out of our control. Obviously, we cannot control the wind. And now what hindered us? So external resistors, maybe it was a storm, right? Usually it's a current, but I know that it's, you can't really find the current, an image for a current. So I decided to use the image just for a storm. So we can do something like this. Okay. So here is our board that has been prepared for the retrospective for our team. Now, one of the things that I always do is to make sure that nothing gets moved or misplaced or deleted by mistake is to select everything and to lock it. So very important feature just to make sure that someone who comes into this page won't be actually able to move anything. And I also cannot move anything. And if I want to move something, I need to unlock it by long pressing to unlock. So now we have our board and we can put in our sticky notes there for people to fill in. Now, I'm going to show you something. What's going to happen is that our sticky notes are actually appearing behind all of our items here. This is because I have added the sticky notes on the board before everything else. So basically, kind of technically, everything that you add on the board will appear on top of whatever is already on the board. So you might see items that are behind. And in this case, the easiest way to do is just to copy, paste, and now these items are above everything else. I can remove these ones and just kind of, let's make them a little bit smaller, and we will just reorganize them a little bit. So because I have already locked the frame, you can't move anything on the frame, but you can still use the sticky notes. So the board is ready, and if we go into the retrospective, we can use this board right away for brainstorming. Now, how do you actually share your board with your team? Well, pretty easily, you can share your board right here. And you can obviously share it with your team if you have a team account. Or you can say anyone with the link can edit. You can send the password if you want a little bit more privacy. This is what I have for my templates. If you're buying templates from my store, once you get those, you actually get a password to access those templates. Now let's copy the board link. You can copy it from here, or you can just copy it from the address bar. And let me open an incognito window. And the link is what you're going to give to your team. And here I am appearing here as a guest. So this is me logged into my board, and this is a visiting maker. If I go back here, well, I can see that someone joined. This is how you can see how many people are actually in your board. Very easy. That is how you share it with your team. Now, one of the things that will happen is once people come in, is that as you can see on the right side here, the person can see my cursor. Now imagine you have 15 people in your retrospective, or even if there are 6 people in your retrospective. This gets very distracting. So what can you do? Well, in the right corner, let me reopen it. So in the right corner right here, you can hide collaborators' cursors. Up, and the cursor disappeared. So it is very good, an easy thing that you can do to help your team, make it easier for them to use the board. And then as a collaborator, I can just click on anything and start typing my notes, right? And then obviously me as a facilitator, I can see it happening right away. So very straightforward, very easy. So what do you do actually once you start the retrospective? Say you have a lot of different notes right here, and you need to choose some of them. If you haven't seen my video on the retrospective example, I'm going to put it in the description. I recommend you looking into it because I explain an example of how to facilitate it. And one of the things I say there is that if you have too many notes, you need to choose maybe up to 3 key topics you would like to discuss in the retro. And the best way to do it is by voting. If you click on voting, right here, you can start a new session. Now, what is happening is actually taking whatever I have in my view, and I can technically vote on everything, including on the items here. You can select specifically which items the people would be able to vote on, but you don't want people to vote on these items. You only want for them to vote on the notes. And so what you can do is to say, okay, remove everything and only allow voting on the sticky notes. And you can select how many votes people will have and how much time they have. So always make sure that you put a timer on your voting session. And a few votes, 3 votes is good. You can put in maybe 5 votes for a medium-sized group as well to help you distribute it. Especially if you have a lot of notes, you might want to give a bit more votes just for people to be able to distribute them a little bit better. So you can start it. It says, okay, you can also actually join voting. And this can be something that, say, okay, here are my 3 votes. These are the things that I voted on. You can say, I'm done. Now let's go to our guest who got this voting session started. Notice, and you can also join on voting. And in the same way, there you go. I have 3 votes left. And I can put the notes, my votes on different notes, and I can say, okay, I'm done. As a facilitator, I can see that how many people are actually voting and who is done. Very useful. I think it's a new feature, actually. And now, if everybody is voted, you can actually end for all. That's it, end session. And you're going to get the results. It's going to take some time, especially if you have lots of people participating, lots of votes. So here you go. It shows us the results. So you can see all of the results. Very useful. So you can quickly see which ones are the most voted on and then zoom into all those notes more specifically. Now let's close it. And what it is going to do is to remove all of the information from here. You can still go back to it if you click back on voting. And you can look at the results here. It's going to show you the results from the other voting sessions you did. So technically, you can use the same board for as many retrospectives as you can, really, and then see the results for all of that in one place. Another way for you to use it, the voting technique, is by using these dots. So I have added them here. And in the same way, you can set a timer for the team and tell them to use up to 3 or 5 or however many dots you want for them to use and to actually put them on the notes. Again, they appear behind everything. So we're going to do the same trick again. We're going to copy and paste. Now they appear in front. Very easy. And now in the same way, you can kind of give them some time to vote. I do recommend, as always, to actually limit the time. So you can click on the top right corner here, the timer, set the time, and you start, and the timer started. And if I go here and close it, I can see the timer too. And I can put in my votes whenever I want in the same way. So going back to my workshop facilitator view. So here you go. Now, what would be the other thing that could be useful here? How do you actually collect thoughts? What I like to do is to have a separate slide, separate frame here, where we collect ideas, thoughts, and action items. And you can't really create action items specifically here in Miro, but there is a trick that I really like to use. So let's say action items right here. So these are our action items. I'm going to also lock it and say we're taking in a specific note. Well, for example, this one, right? We can just copy and paste a note right here. And I like to just separate it in this way. And while the team discusses, I often just kind of click and add notes with some thoughts that they are, like the key thoughts that they have. And if you want to have action items and want people to be assigned to those action items, let's say this is our action 1. Now, how do we assign it to people? I like to use tags. So click on tag, and you can say, well, Dory is going to take care of this one. And now it appeared here. It is pretty small, like you'll really need to zoom in to see it. So I really like using different colors. Say we have action number 2. And this one, we don't want it to be Daria. We want it to be someone else. Now you can easily see, right, that this action item is assigned to someone else. And if you have multiple things, you can color code for different people, use different colors, and it's still pretty visual. And then when you come back to this retrospective next time, you can easily go back to these actions and see whether the team actually completed them or not. What I like to do is use the little icons here. So for example, if I say, hey, did we complete this action item number 1? And people say yes. Well, I like to use a little icon here just to kind of represent it. So there you go. Okay, this has been done. And then maybe something that didn't finish, or maybe something that we didn't do, and we decided, nah, let's not do it. That wasn't worth our time. Let's just not do it. Or maybe something else, you will have another action item and you want to highlight that we're going to do it again. I like to use things like arrows, for example, like more of, less of. And I like to use just an arrow that goes up, like this one, maybe, you know, and say, let's do more of this. Just to highlight it for us for the future. So just a few quick tricks of how you can make it visual and use it for your team to track actions. Now, let's say we have a second retrospective. I'm going to just copy paste the same slide. I'm going to say sprint 2 retro, and instead of sailboat, we're going to use a race car retrospective. So we're going to put a little car right here, just to visually help us differentiate them. Now I will have to only select the items that I want to lock because I don't want to lock all of the notes here. So there you go. Now, if someone joins the retrospective, they will appear randomly at a random place. I think it will depend on where you are as a facilitator. So if you finished creating your board and you were maybe like here, the team member who will join the Miro board will see the same thing. So it might be confusing, especially if you have a lot of information. So how do you actually control what people see? In the left corner, right here next to your board name, you have settings, and you can click settings, board, and set start view. So it's going to usually just take the whole view of your whole board, but you can make it more specific. Where do you want people to actually start when they enter the board? Well, we are in retrospective number 2, so I'm gonna set the start view right here. Done. This is done. Now, I will have to open up the incognito tab again. And there you go. It's loading. And as you can see, I have started with sprint 2 because this is what have been set as the start view by the facilitator. Now let's imagine you are moving around the board and you want people to actually follow you and to see exactly the same space as you're seeing. For example, you want people to maybe start with the action items and you want to move everyone here. Well, when you are the facilitator, you can click on your icon right here and say, bring everyone to me. And you brought everyone to you, and as you can see, it just shows now how many people are actually following. And if I go back to my incognito tab, as you can see, I'm the guest, and I am following the owner. I can unfollow, or I can follow again. So whenever I'm moving, let's just put it this way. Whenever the owner of the board moving, because I'm following them, follow them. Because I'm following them, now it moves as they move, right? So you can quickly remove people from following you as well. No, actually, you can't do that. You do need to ask people to stop following you, and they can just do that by moving around or just clicking on your icon. But as a facilitator, you can easily bring everyone to the same view as you. So very useful overall for people to be able to follow you. And these are the key functionality that I use. So what did we talk about? We talked about using some templates. I like to use building blocks that you can find right here. So those are the templates. I like to use the icons. These are really great for quick images that you can find and that can help you maybe highlight some of the items, make it a bit more fun. Then you have the voting feature that is really great, that shows you results of your voting. Very nice, and shows you history. And the timer. So this is also a great way for you to manage the time and manage the retrospective. If you're getting into if your board really is growing, it's getting big, you might want to use the sidebar feature right here at the bottom left corner. So we can open up the sidebar and you can see all of the frames kind of at a glance. Yeah, they changed it a little bit, but you can basically see all of the frames right here. So it's easy to click and kind of jump to the frame that you want. So if people are following you, they will be jumping with you. This is what I really like to use in my classes. So this is kind of everything that I wanted to share with you. Those are the key features. And I see here that I have seen something. Yeah, I've just noticed that they have estimation, clustering, and video chat. So they do have other things here. I haven't used those. I'm kind of curious about estimation. Interesting. That's kind of cool. I guess it's going to be working the same way as voting. Let's actually check it out. Okay. Yes. So You can do it in the same way. You just select the area or where you want people to estimate, maybe, and estimate 8 cities. And now I can join the estimation. Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. Very good. And now let's try it on my second screen. The same way. We'll do this. And I'm going to say I'm finished. And let's start agreeing. Let's just kind of end for all. Okay, so you can see the votes from different people, and then you can choose which one you'd like to go with. Okay, pretty nice, very nice. And then we can say end for all and share the results. Here, estimate is 5. So it shows you the estimate, kind of the result. Really nice little feature. If you try it, let me know how it goes. So these are the key things that I wanted to show. That is it for this video. I hope you learned something new, you found some new functionalities or features that you haven't used before, and it gave you an idea for your next retrospective. If you are looking for more templates and more guided way to run workshops and retrospectives, check out my store. I have lots of good materials there. It's very easy to use. You just copy and paste it into your Miro board, and then you can go from here by following these step-by-step instructions in my guides. And this is it for this video. I'm going to be doing more videos on other tools as well. I'm thinking of reviewing Miro and other tools, maybe Zenboard, Jamboard. I'm going to look into what is popular, what kind of gives some of the similar features that you can use. There are lots of different tools. I've been using Miro for all of that time, and I'm going to continue using it. It's really great, but maybe there is something else that would work more for you. I like the flexibility of these platforms because you can create any type of facilitation and any type of exercise in these boards, and that really gives you a lot of creativity and gives you a lot of opportunities for making your remote meetings much more effective. I hope to see you in the next video. Cheers and Scrum on.